Hello, I'm Diana Mendrila, an Associate Professor of Educational Research at the University of West Georgia in the United States. The study that I am presenting for the 2018 Ireland International Conference on Education focuses on the development of a typology of victimization in U.S. adolescents based on the extent to which participants in the study reported experiencing different forms of bullying and cyberbullying victimization. The literature on bullying and cyberbullying victimization is very rich and shows that face-to-face or traditional victimization is closely related to cyber-victimization, and that these two forms of victimization tend to occur together. The literature shows that, in general, face-to-face victimization precedes cyber-victimization, and that approximately one-third of the individuals who experienced face-to-face victimization also become cyber victims. Other researchers showed that students who were victims of face-to-face bullying were 4 times more likely to also become cyber victims. Although the literature on bullying and cyberbullying victimization is extensive, only a few studies focused on the development of a typology of victimization. One of these studies focused on differentiating types of victimization based on the frequency of victimization experiences and identified 3 types: victimized, sometimes victimized, and non-victimized. Another group of researchers focused on developing a typology of victimization based on the forms of victimization experienced by participants and differentiated a group that experienced mostly verbal or relational forms of victimization, a group that experienced all forms of victimization, and a group that experienced minimal victimization in all of its forms. Another study focused on differentiating groups of victims based on the forms of victimization experienced and identified 4 types of victimization: verbal and physical, verbal and relational, high verbal, physical, and relational, and low victimization in all of its forms. The current study continues this line of research by aiming to differentiate types of victims based on whether or not participants in the study experience different forms of face-to-face victimization or cyber victimization. In contrast with the studies mentioned previously, this study is focused not only on the forms of victimization, verbal or physical, but also on how or where victimization occurred, in person or in the virtual environment. Data for the study were collected by the Bureau of Justice Statistics and the National Center for Education Statistics using the school crime supplement of the National Crime Victimization Survey. Households are selected for the study using a stratified, multi-stage cluster sampling design. The school crime supplement is administered to all eligible respondents ages 12 through 18 within these households. This survey is administered every 2 years. In 2013, a total of 5,008 adolescents completed the school crime supplement. From this sample, individuals without any missing responses on selected variables were included in the current study. The resulting sample included 4,939 individuals. In 2013, individual item response rates were high. The unweighted item response rates for all respondents on all survey items exceeded 85%. On the majority of items, the response rate was 95% or higher. Therefore, no explicit imputation procedure was used to correct for item non-response. The school crime supplement sample weights, which are a combination of household level and person level adjustment factors, were applied to the variables used in the study to avoid bias in standard errors and point estimates. Data were analyzed using latent class analysis, which is a special case of mixture modeling. It explains the relationships between observed indicators and latent categorical variables by classifying individuals into categories. The software used to conduct the statistical analysis was M+ 7.4. A set of 14 binary observed indicators was used as input for latent class analysis. These observed indicators were used to specify a latent categorical variable C. To identify the optimal latent class model, models with 2, 3, 4, and 5 latent classes were estimated. Each model was examined based on the interpretability of the latent classes, the precision of the classification process, as well as the degree to which each model fits the data. Therefore, the information used to select the optimal solution consisted of the class centroids, hit rates, or the percentages of correctly classified cases, entropy, and goodness of fit indices. For each group, the centroid information was examined to determine whether the identified latent classes represented distinct patterns of victimization. Classes were labeled based on their patterns of high and low probability values, while making sure that group profiles had substantive meaning. The fit indices used to determine how well the models fit the data were the AIC and the BIC. These are relative fit indices that permit comparisons between solutions with different numbers of latent categories and/or different model specifications. Lower AIC and BIC values indicate a better model fit and a higher model parsimony, which means achieving an acceptable model fit with the minimum number of classes. Another measure of classification precision is entropy, which summarizes the information presented in the classification tables with one index. Entropy indicates how well the model predicts latent class memberships or how distinct classes are from one another. Entropy values range from 0 to 1, where higher values indicate better class membership prediction. In this study, Model 3 had the highest entropy of 0.92 and the lowest BIC value, as shown in Table 1. Additionally, the 4 classes included in this model were the most informative and had clearly distinguishable characteristics. Therefore, Model 3 was selected as the optimal latent class model. For Model 3, average latent class and classification probabilities showed accurate assignment of cases to groups. Classification probabilities range between 70% and 99% in Table 2, and average latent class probabilities range between 87% and 98% in Table 3. The 4 identified latent classes differed in the extent to which individuals experienced different forms of traditional victimization and cyber-victimization, as illustrated in this figure. The most numerous group of 4,274 individuals was labeled non-victims, or NV, as individuals in this group experienced little or no victimization at all. The second largest group, consisting of 486 individuals, was labeled traditional victims, or TV. The majority of the individuals in this group experienced traditional forms of victimization, such as being made fun of, called names, or insulted, 75%, or being the subject of rumors, 65%. The third group included 107 individuals and was labeled cyber victims, or CV. A large proportion of this latent class was the subject of rumors, 67%, and also experienced high levels of other forms of victimization, such as being insulted through text messaging, 49%, through instant messaging or chat, 44%, or through hurtful internet posts, 44%. The fourth group included 72 individuals and was the smallest in size, but experienced increased levels of both traditional victimization and cyber victimization, and was therefore labeled traditional victims, cyber victims, TVCV. The great majority of the individuals in this group were the subject of rumors, 100% of them. They have been made fun of, called names, or insulted, 96%. Were excluded from activities on purpose, 67%, were pushed, shoved, tripped, or spit on, 57%, and threatened with harm, also 57%. Individuals in this latent class also experienced high levels of cyber victimization by being threatened or insulted through text messaging, 75%, through hurtful posts on the internet, or through instant messaging. For each observed indicator, odds ratios were calculated to compare probabilities of victimization across latent classes. Statistically significant odds ratio values showed that members of the TVCV latent class were significantly more likely than individuals in the CV latent class to be victimized through hurtful posts on the internet. Similarly, the TVCV latent class recorded significantly higher probabilities of traditional victimization and victimization via hurtful internet posts than individuals in the TV and NV latent classes. Compared to the non-victims, individuals in the TV latent class were significantly more likely to be the victims of traditional forms of victimization as well as hurtful internet posts. Individuals in the CV latent class were significantly more likely to be the victims of hurtful internet posts and the subject of rumors, but significantly less likely to be made fun of, called names, or insulted than individuals in the TV latent class. Individuals in the CV latent class were significantly more likely than the non-victims to be the target of hurtful internet posts and rumors, or to be called names, made fun of, or insulted. In conclusion, the goal of the current study was to develop a typology of victimization based on the extent to which respondents of the 2013 School Crime Supplement experienced traditional victimization and/or cyber-victimization. Results showed that most adolescents, approximately 4,000, experienced low levels of victimization or no victimization at all. Nevertheless, the rest of the respondents experienced various forms of traditional and/or cyber-victimization. While a small group of respondents experienced severe levels of both traditional victimization and cyber-victimization, about 70 adolescents, a fairly large group of individuals experienced moderate levels of traditional victimization, about 400 adolescents, and cyber-victimization, about 100 adolescents. Given the psychosocial consequences of victimization in the school setting, these findings are of great concern. They inform practitioners of the most prevalent types of victimization in the population of U.S. adolescents and facilitate the identification of individuals who may be at risk of being victimized.